What's up, y'all? Couple things. I was having kind of audio muffled a little bit, and then pretty much clear to where I was like, oh, I actually do sound that like that sometimes. And also yesterday's video that I had posted, which has no views as of right now. It's not how I usually look, so when I take my glasses off, I was noticing that I have kind of a uneven face. I don't know how else to put it. It's not like I'm putting myself down or anything. I thought that was interesting how I think I can even tell right now recording that I'm just used to wearing my glasses pretty much all the time, except if I'm reading in bed. It was about the only time I'm reading. But I do read a lot on my downtime and whatnot. Some days I don't really have any. I'm sure you can relate. But the main thing that I was wanting to kind of rip off the Band-Aid, perhaps I'm the only one, I seriously doubt that, but anyone else kind of get, I don't know about disturbed or even paranoid, but leery, suspicious maybe, of, I love AI, but it's like, okay, it's come so advanced to where you almost need to pinpoint, like to single out like glitches to be able to differentiate between fabricated and actuality anymore these days. I don't know, fill in that blank as you see fit. What's next? Like, the backdrop, yeah, they've been having, artificial, so to speak, even before green screens and not AVI, what's the word I'm looking for? CGI, I knew it, abbreviation, not word or whatever, but if that's kind of the future or already a reality, if not the reality, so be it, is kind of all I can leave that at, elaboration upon request and likely at least delved into at least once more, maybe the near future, maybe 20 videos from now. Something tells me I might not be uploading to YouTube as frequently as I do TikTok. I hope everyone can play nice, by the way, not just competitors, but I very much encourage, and it just warms my very soul when anyone is able to, even a competitor or a direct foe, like, hey, well fought, well debated or whatever, even hats off to you. Hey, that's a good concept. May I please take a page from your book, there are cliches that kind of go with that, and I think cliche might not be the exact word I was looking for there. Not slogans either. Heartfelt sincerity, if you have a foe, I hope you don't. And keep in mind, I hope you'll let me love you. I don't know how else to say that. I encourage and I'm rooting for just anyone who, not just you, not just anyone who will let me, and especially you watching me or this, or however you want to phrase that. But that kind of brings me to my main topic for this one. There's a lot of rabbit holes and or wormholes. Sometimes those are rarer, but the rabbit holes are abound. They're endless, and I hope that mankind can discover, if not manipulate, wormholes eventually. I, for one, would love to travel distant universes, even other dimensions, that could be kind of interesting, if not have disastrous implications, but it could also further the success of mankind, womankind, humanity by leaps and bounds. I just know that to be true. So, circling back to the encouragement for this one right here is what are some of your like routines or tricks? There's no substitute that I've found for gently. I can't stress that enough. Just like as gently as you need to take it. Working out, for instance, my shoulders, I've been finding motions where it's like, ow, ooh, pain, kind of thing. And then so what I'm trying to get at is your body won't lead you astray. Don't overdo things that, I'm still able to do. For instance, my 20 to 25, that's on a good day, push-ups on my knuckles. I've been filled in on much. Like, there's not much my chiropractor, for instance, but mainly I don't talk to too many people other than my coworkers and family members, but my coworkers every day, of course. But everyone is glad to answer to the extent that they can. My chiropractor has never, not been able to at least mostly answer all my questions, and they get outlandish. I try not to get ridiculous ever, but he just had brought up, not really out of nowhere, I can't remember the segue, but or pluralized, that almost everything, not just on your fists, but locked and kind of as sturdy as you can get it, is better. My push-ups are slower, the planking is slower and more difficult, but overall I'm saving time. I'm done with push-ups faster than, traditional flat-handed where it's straining your wrists, I assume. That's just from my own personal experience, and push-ups are just an example. I'm not on a ninja regimen, as you can tell. I am basically healthier than I have been ever in ways. I can't remember all of my little tyke days. I don't remember hardly anything from childhood, but I do remember having my heel pricked. I don't believe it was for jaundice. I ended up having jaundice, but as an infant, I had my heel pricked days old, which that always has kind of intrigued me. Well, very much intrigued me. But the more you're able to work at things, and don't ever feel bad if you don't you're not a complete master right the first time you tried doing it. I never thought I'd be able to do a pull-up. I'm back to, and I do say back to doing threes, which chin up, where you lift yourself to the chin is how I haven't researched this, but then pull-up is where you, and when I say threes, that's without my feet touching the ground and letting myself pretty much dangle as far as my reach can go, and then back up again. And on the third one, I, try to extend my legs, which incidentally, or even ironically, I can keep the knees straight, not necessarily locked, but get about waist level. Whereas for shoulders, or I've been told, just arms, even issues, but exercise, it's kind of a stretch in general, is just letting yourself dangle. So when you're just dangling, your feet behind you, knees at a right angle, then you, without touching the floor, you bring your legs forward. And I tell you what, it's harder than it sounds. From the waist, I can only lift my legs, what would that be, freaking 20 degrees, 30 degrees? I never was much for math, much less good at it, but it's extremely important, obviously. Life literally is math, not just money. Mainly seconds or moments or instances. I love kind of dissecting that. What's your view on the differences between all of those? They can be synonymous, So far as I can tell, in most contexts, they are. But, you know, a moment usually is like here and then gone, but not necessarily 1 second. An instant, I kind of pluralize sometimes. For instance, sorry, I get dorky. I try to stay dorky in certain ways, if only sometimes. Not only like testing who bears with me, but like it's so liberating just not concerning yourself with, oh, I'm walking on eggshells, am I saying the right thing? And, you know, I haven't met anyone new in years, much less lady. Well, I take that back. Not been on a date or even asked any ladies out on a date. I have been rejected within the last couple of years. I'll get that out of the way right now, too, is I am 0 for probably well over 500. I wish I was exaggerating or embellishing, if there's a difference, when there are differences, throughout my whole life. Now, I don't dwell on these things like, oh my gosh, you know, what's wrong with me, you know, so to speak. No, you just take things at a case by case and, if allowed, so to speak, personal kind of approach. That's to say, if she's religious, I will completely, like, kind of answer questions she has, but not, okay, religion's kind of a bad example, but not bad example, but I try to steer clear, at least on like first dates or, you know, first meeting anyone, not just young ladies that, or ladies that I'm attracted to. I don't know a better way to put that, but I try not to be so like straightforward where I'm like, hey, you're fine, what's them digits, you know, whatever. If that's kind of the vibe I'm getting from her, by all means, I'll be like, well, hey, you know, what are you doing later or whatever. I don't know where that's going. Again, that's on an individual and very personalized, not personal, but kind of basis, you know. If I get a smile, which I did just the other day, and dang, I should have just been like, hey, you know, how's your day going? See, especially anymore, I've lived from before the internet. So, that said, there's kind of no way that I've found, unless you're absolutely suave, even at a club, just going up like, hey, I'm blah, 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 you know, that's a good way to get maced, you know, or maybe even smacked. I like to think that most, you know, will not warn you or something like, hey, look, you know, I'm taken, or I'm just here to have a drink, what have you, you know, kind of thing. And I'm gonna try to remember to rewatch this before I post to make sure I'm not doing the half smile kind of. I had like a lazy eye going on, and the eyes were going different directions, and I'm like, that's different from like the TikTok videos I'm used to. It's interesting how I would think that, you know, they shouldn't be very different, right? It's got to be my mindset or frame of mind. Granted, it all depends on how much I have to say, what I'm saying, how sensitive of a topic or what have you. I try to encourage not being so sensitive that you're always disappointed. I would say constantly disappointed, but technically that entails even in your sleep. So that ain't gonna happen. I try not to get all splitting hairs with, I don't know, not just literal or technical, but anyway. So one trick that or I'm convinced that one reason I've straight survived, not just my job, which is usually physical, and I look at it like, hey, I, for the most part, don't even have to join a gym. I get at least 10, if not my 12,000 steps per day. Able to, like, find heavy things to do, not just go lift something because it's heavy, but, like, you know, don't forget to bend at the knees, for instance, and then, like, just whenever I'm drying my hands, for instance, like at a rag at the table that I work at, I'll, like, crouch and just, like, keep the, I just think of it as shoulders back. I know it sounds like embarrassing, but rump out, you know, and imagine yourself doing squats, you know, which incidentally, don't just jump into the deep end and do a barbell. I always forget dumbbell is individual or isolated, right then left, right then left. A barbell is the bar to where you have it on your shoulders, and which don't, I actually, that's how I tore my rotator cuff some years ago, is doing the pull-ups with the bar behind your head. My friend even said he saw a sign with a circle and the cross through it, like that's a huge no-no exercise. They probably have, like, machines that work, I don't know what lats are. It seems that lats would be one muscle that sounds relevant there. Anyway, again, I'm no personal trainer, much less doctor. Masseuse or masseur in my case would be kind of between those two, I guess, as far as knowledge of the human anatomy. I'm trying to think of other things I've learned from my chiropractor. The guy and his wife are absolute just geniuses, not just an excellent, like, actual chiropractor. And yes, there are downwards of even quacks in, like, Western medicine or any field that will you allow yourself to, like, be taken advantage of. It kind of at least has a tendency to do that, just that, you know, or for that to happen, however you want to look at it. I'm not saying I don't have faith in humanity. In fact, that's one of the biggest, if not worst, cop-outs I've ever heard is effing people. Like, dude, no. First of all, there's, like, demographics, there's individuals. Even, okay, for instance, I was raised Mormon, but there were, like, different types or levels of Mormon in the whole nine yards, you know, like, certain scientists disagree with others, you know, and there's doctors that'll even be like, hey, my fourth opinion differed from your primary physician's original diagnosis or take on what's going on or whatever, and I just so happen to be right, or I have much experience because I'm a specialist, or hopefully it's clear enough because I don't really know how to clarify that much better or more or both. But so I'm going to wrap this one up, but I'm going to call it a success. If I continue getting 0 views, hey, I'm going to keep uploading, but I'm trying not to inundate, especially the non-shorts. The shorts are 3 minutes long so far, as I've found out on YouTube. Love this platform. Hopefully this channel is shown some love, if only eventually. If not, you know, I'm always still on TikTok. Been meaning to pick up my Facebook activity, and Twitter for that matter. I still love both of those, but I still do about 1 to 4 tweets a week. I used to do about 2 to 5 a day. That would probably be pre-TikTok, but yeah, I'm not addicted, but I don't know what I would do without these delightful just channels, in this case double entendre, because I channel any kind of stress or angst or any of, you know, just negativity or what have you, into trying to bring positivity into who will listen. and indeed reality. I like to embrace this day and age, if not entire planet, if not universe, fill in infinite blanks there, as to uplifting, encouraging, just especially if all that surrounds you, so to speak, is like, oh my gosh, did you hear about what happened and what they said, and oh, they think this way and blah 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 blah. You can actually verbally just politely kind of throw it in there, like, you would be accomplishing leaps and bounds, if not like fathoms, if only for yourself, if you weren't so like OCD or hung up. That's in extreme cases, but if you didn't so much as just pay attention so much, they say that choose your battles. Well, if someone's talking with you, cherish that over if they're talking at you, and just know right when you're being bitched at, or when you are playing free therapist, or any of that sort of thing, being taken advantage of. I'm no expert even in that field, but I'll tell you what, if I was a ninja in any category, it's that I have successfully cut out arguing and debating and whatnot from my life. There have been a little kind of blemishes, if not slip-ups, but I can honestly say I haven't argued. I've had to kind of plead my case maybe 3 or 4 times, literally within about 3-4 years. It's probably been less than 5 years, but and as I age, for me, that's one thing that is increasingly baffling. That's a little strong and or dramatic, but very intriguing how I'm like, really? It's already been 10 years or whatever, when it seems like 1 year ago. It might not seem, it almost never seems like months ago, but I'd be like, I thought that was only 2 years ago kind of thing. But, if ever you need to just kind of have a breath, incidentally, this one, I know you hear in through the nose, out through the mouth all the time, but this is a very effective de-stressor for me. Just, you do a sharp and then a prolonged. It doesn't have to be exactly 48 seconds or anything like that, no. And the sharpness can be, like a really nice one, or just a, kind of thing. And you can even continue talking as you're doing that. I, recommend against that, but, that can prevent an accident if you're a road rager. And that's one thing I've been working on, honestly. And you'll notice that you'll be actually physically feeling better, or if only mentally, if you just wave someone, thanks for letting me in, or whatever, instead of, gosh dang it, why aren't you moving? The light has been green for 28 seconds. That's one of the biggest ones for me. Gee, Dad, aren't you trying to get somewhere? And I'm almost turning red and veins popping out, even just emulating as much or whatever, which is hilarious. But that has caused accidents. I'm never trying to get bleak, much less grim, but bearing that in mind could very well save lives, perhaps loved ones that are in the car or truck or vehicle that you're driving. Until next time, this has been Dereal, and I will be checking up on you, if so allowed, astrally. I can't prove that that's not, possible. And that's one thing I like to stress, is a lot of how I'm able to seamlessly carry on. I try never to ramble, but connect things or this, that, and the other is I clear and free my mind. And I have known a lot of people to pass away, but I'm not saying that all your thoughts are from ghosts for that matter. And I know that sounds silly, if not like cuckoo, but which I have known firsthand dementia. So I try not to joke about that. I'm going to try to stop joking about everything. One thing I've covered on TikTok, though, is I'm allowed to say, please forgive, retard, because I am one, and that kind of logic only holds so much water. And even when it does, how do you know the vessel's not sinking? Might take 28 years to sink, but that type of impediment can be cataclysmic if you let it be. This video, and indeed all of my messages, or at least videos, I really hope are going to be like as positive as I can get them to be, as they're made out to be. I am not joking whatsoever when I tell you I love you, and I know that might be grounds for none of my future videos to be watched ever again, but hey, if I already am at 0 views for, this is going to be my 4th, and the first one does have 31 views. I don't do too bad on TikTok for that matter, but there's nowhere to go but up. See, there's always optimistic ways of looking at things. They say that, yeah, things can always get better. I've mentioned this a lot of different ways, but yeah, they can always be worse until I have passed away. But even then, I specify myself as an example because I personally believe once I have passed away, who's to say that even hell can't be better than life itself? If only in ways, if only like opportunities to travel or seeing other people that you've known, like literally they're in hell, I mean, and I do laugh at that one because, heck, I've always said if there's a way to preach, I try never to, but I'll at least try to get through to the devils themselves, if not change minds. Duly noted, it might be vital to creation, for all I know, that hell continues. It just operates how it has since, Anunnaki and Dropa and all that, thousands and thousands of years ago. Atlantis could have predate Neanderthals. So was there kind of global resetting going on there? I've heard stories of archaeological digs that had like evidence of crazy radiation that could have been a global ending event. There's so much to wonder about. So if anyone ever is like, well, why are you doing this way? And why did you say that? And oh my gosh, aren't they yada, yada, yada. It's like from there, it's unimportant. I can't like literally audibly shut them out or shun them, and I wouldn't even if I could, but you can already be calculating retorts, feedback, advice, wisdom. That's what I'm going for. That's what I fully encourage and recommend. And you might surprise yourself, and usually do, at least from my standpoint, where it's like, hey, what you just said, and your grievance, if you will, if it's a negative route, reminded me of this and that happened, that this is how I overcame that, and since then I've learned this, and I do this way, and, and hey, that actually taught me a thing about, driving safer. That's one thing I'll kind of keep. It'll be recurring. I won't keep stressing, be a safe driver, truth be told, do speed almost always. I'm trying to get better about how much I speed, but yeah, it's just fun out there. Let it be uplifting and enlightening. If only every once in a while, think to yourself, like, even if you're doing the most repetitive, mundane, monotony, whatever, just think, I am honored that I'm not bedridden right now. That's one way to turn boring, if not drab, if not melancholy, into, you know what? I never looked at things that way.